You absolutely can keep 2 or more horses happy, healthy, and mentally stimulated on less than an acre of land. I am going to show you how we do that here on the Little Haven farm. Our horse paddock is 3/4 of an acre. It's a pretty complex layout, and I'm going to show you that. And at the end, I'll show you a map, and I'm also going to show you the comparison of our paddock to a football field, the size of a football field. It's a really good visual reference. So hang on till the end and you'll get to see that. This is our barn. It's a pole barn we built. This is 24 feet wide, 30 feet long. If we come in here, you'll see I've got a gate on this end. We call this opening our breezeway. And this space is 12 feet wide by 30 feet long. It is an awesome space to be able to work with a horse. We've got a gate on this end. This opens up, this is our feed room. It's a 12 foot by 12 foot space. We have this area which we call our stall. And this is 12 feet wide by 18 feet long. I can close this gate here. I can close this gate on this end also. And then here in the breezeway, we can bring a horse in and work with them if we need to, I don't know, if we just want to bring them in and brush them, if we need to get fly spray on them, if we need to do hooves. We have the farrier out. This is a really great shady spot to bring the horses in. It's a big enough space that multiple people can be in with the horse. The horse doesn't feel crowded. They feel like they've got plenty of space to move around. And it just ends up a perfect spot that I can close them in. I love to work with the horses at liberty, which means no ropes, no harnesses. And this gives them plenty of room to do that and not feel crowded in by the humans. This is our arena. It butts up to, turn this way, butts up to our barn. This has worked out really well for us. We've got a gate over here, this opening, and then a gate here that closes. This end of the arena is squared off. You can see that. And then this other end of the arena is rounded. So we have got a half circle on that end of the arena. And the nice thing about that is that I can take these pylons right here and I can set them up in a half circle this direction, run a ribbon or a rope, something like that, and then I can actually have my 60-foot round pin. Our arena is, let me try to turn the phone around here. Our arena is actually 60 feet by 120 feet. It's the regular standard length of an arena. But let's come back out this gate. And what I'd like to show you is coming this direction out of the barn. We come over here to this corner of the arena, and you'll see that outside of our arena, we have got the fence of the arena, and then 15 feet over, we have another fence. As I'm walking down here, I'm going to explain how this works. This is our track system. There is a book, which I'll show you here in a little bit, by Jamie Jackson called Paddock Paradise. And it's got a lot of information about how to implement the track system and why you should do it for the health of your horse. I highly recommend it. The goal of this track system is to keep your horse walking all day long. So we just came around to the rounded end of the arena, and we open up to the other end of our paddock, which is almost like a separate paddock. We've got these trees here. I'm going to talk about them in just a minute. But we come down this way, and if we look back, you can see this half of this side of the track is covered with mulch. It's a really nice soft surface for them. It's just a hardwood mulch, Texas hardwood mulch. Right through here, this is what our regular ground would look like. This is gravel. You can see that. It's just, you've got either gravel or mud, gravel, rock, or mud. So we added the mulch down this side. We left the trees in the track so the horses have got something to navigate. They do walk through this rock, not as much. They like to stay over on the soft, but they do walk through this, and it builds up resilience in their hooves. You can see we got a lot of rain recently, and we're having some drainage issues on the back end of our arena, which I don't mind. It's washing the sand out here into some areas that we have had some mud issues. So let's come down here on the other side of these trees. You see we have a feeder here with coastal hay. I'm a strong believer in giving your horse feed, hay available at all times, day or night. Fights boredom and just keeps them healthier, eating the way that they should be eating constantly. They're constant grazers. Back in this corner of the paddock, this is almost like the most traditional part of our paddock. We've got a sand pit here for one thing. That's not super common, but we have this sand pit for them. It's big rocks that we brought in, really big rocks. Made a circle here, filled it with sand. The horses walk down here multiple times a day, and they lay down, they take naps here, they roll around in it. They really like this spot. And then this back corner, you can see we left this with just the dirt, the soil of the ground. This is really the only spot that we have any issue with mud, and I have left it. Mud is something that horses would naturally walk through. But the thing, for those of you who have horses, any horse left standing in mud for very long ends up with hoof problems. And the whole goal of our track system is specifically aimed at the health of our horses' hooves. So where you saw earlier, we had the mulch. Down here, we've got sand, we've got rocks for them to walk on. We have got mud, which they would normally encounter in nature. And then we circle back around. I'm going to show you the other ground materials that we have on the other end, which really, really do so much for the health of our horses' hooves. These trees, now I mentioned these a minute ago. We left them thick. We could have easily cleaned it up, made this, kind of a well-groomed little side of the paddock. But we left them specifically because if you read this book by Jamie Jackson, you'll see there are some parts in there where he talks about you've got your track system set up, do the best you can so that when your horses are at one end of your track, they cannot see the other end of their track. The goal is to keep these horses moving, walking as much as you can all day long. Horses in the wild would be walking 20 to 40 miles a day. And most horses just kept by people, they're lucky if they walk 1 mile a day. So just like humans, if we're not moving, it affects our health. Horses, it's absolutely the same way. So we kept all these trees here. So when they're back on this side of the paddock, they're hanging out, and then all of a sudden they look up and they think, I wonder what's happening on the other side of the paddock. And then they start walking back that direction. And we come to the other side of our arena, right around here. Here's a bonus. This is springtime in Texas, and we've got this really pretty patch of bluebonnets over here. Just thought I would share with you. Really beautiful. So we come around here to this side of the arena. This is the curved end, and I do have a gate here. So on our arena, there are 3 gates, really easy to open and close. And I come out here regularly and will maybe close this gate, leave those 2 open. Maybe I'll close that gate in the far corner and leave these 2 open. Anything I can do to give the horses some kind of stimulation, let them just change their environment, get them a little bit confused, make them think and figure out how to navigate their space, keep the space changing. We do have a lot of gates, and I'll point those out on a little map here in a minute. I do leave things in the middle of the arena. These are just there's a mounting block and some traffic pylons. Just every once in a while come in here and move them around. They come out and see if something's moved, they get curious about it, they check it out, they figure it out, and it adds a little bit of interest to their day. So earlier we were in those trees over there. That's the lane with the mulch, the hardwood mulch that I showed you. Now we're on the other side of the arena. We've got another 15-foot track, this fence here, and then this fence here. This soil was left just natural. This is our natural ground covering. A lot of rocks here, little rocks. We move into some sand right here. So we used granite sand. It's a lot less dusty than regular sand. Our arena flooring is sandy loam mixed with granite sand. It looks a little muddy now because of the rain. And then we come into what is really the magic in our arena of this ground covering right here. This is like gold for your horse's hooves. What this is 1/4-inch limestone, crushed limestone. It looks a lot like decomposed granite. It's about the same scale, but decomposed granite compresses into a solid foundation. It becomes almost like concrete once it has gotten wet and been compressed. So we have this 1/4-inch crushed limestone, which does not compress. It stays soft and cushiony, and it stays dry. I don't have any issue with mud through here. It is in both sides of our barn, and then we have it spread out here. We didn't start out with this much of it, but we ended up, once we realized how fantastic it was for their hooves, we ended up covering this whole back section of our paddock. So what we've done, we started at the barn, we did a full circle around the arena, and then came through here. I have a gate here. I can close this gate off. Where I showed you where the breezeway was in the barn, I can close the gate there. And then I've got another gate at that other side. So this paddock on this whole section of our paddock, this side of it, can be completely closed off. The horse still has access into the stall and to essentially a 3-sided shelter. And we can close the other half completely off. If I need to get a machine in there to add more ground cover, if I need to replenish the sand in the arena, I can do that, no problem. So over here we're gonna come, this is one of the horse's favorite spots in their paddock. We have got this beautiful little pond that is designed specifically for the horses. You can see the horses over there, just kind of hanging out by the gate, looking out at the only piece of green grass we have on our property. So this pond was designed specifically for the horses. We've got basically giant rocks that lead steps down. They can get in the water here, they can walk out there, and then they can walk out this side. So you'll see we have fences designed to keep them where we want them, because it's not easy to make steps into a natural pond like this that are big enough and hefty enough to hold a horse's weight without the side of the pond collapsing. We dug this hole. I'll walk around on the other side in just a minute. We dug down here. There is a little bit of an incline. So on the far side, it's like a berm that's built up that the horses can walk up and down. But this pond, it's got these giant rocks that a horse can actually step on like stairs, strong enough for them. So that using these fences helped us not have to make the entire outer perimeter of the pond walkable for a horse. So that's pretty cool. We do have fish in our pond to prevent mosquitoes. Paloma, man, she is a water horse. In the summertime, she is in this pond. The water's probably up to about her knees. She gets in this pond and it's like a tidal wave. She's splashing and having a great time. We put these prayer flags up here. These are really beautiful, bright colors. the main reason we put them up there is because in the Texas summer, it is brutal hot. And we wanted the pond to have some shade. We don't really have a tree around here that can give us afternoon shade. We did have one that was growing up nice and tall and was just about there, and then we had a bad freeze and this whole tree snapped in half, which was really sad. So there's Blue, our other horse. So the great thing about this pond is that it added a little bit of elevation for us. We did choose to put the horses on kind of a flat spot on our property, but we have a little bit of an incline here. Horses can go up and down. They can come over on this side. This right here, another ground covering for their hooves. This is pea gravel. This is also fantastic for your horse's hooves. It's just, I mean, it cuts down the trimming of your horse's hooves. All of these ground covers cut down the trimming to half. Our horses have their hooves worked on every 8 weeks at this point. We started at 4 weeks a year and a half ago, and now at this point they're going every 8 weeks, which is fantastic. So we have the crushed quarter-inch limestone there. It blends into pea gravel. And then this is the back of the fence. Over here we're talking about stimulation for our horses. I cut some mulberry branches down, and the horses, these were covered with leaves. The horses ate all the leaves, I stuck them in here, but then they peeled the bark off. It's really good for their gut, really good just to keep them entertained. I mean, they can get pretty bored if they're just standing out here. They are, you know, extremely intelligent animals, and any kind of mental stimulation for this type of animal is just, it goes a really long way. So if we come over here, I will show you how I have our water trough set up. One water trough here, and then there is another trough over there by the barn, which we'll go see right now. These troughs, this trough over here fills with rainwater off the roof of the barn. The other trough behind us is just done with a hose, but I let the troughs get really low. That other one back there was pretty low. We just had rain, so this one's overflowing. When the trough gets really low, I will leave it for a day or two and let the horses think, let them figure out where they need to go to get water. They've got 3 points of water, so if one is dry, it's just another little bit of mental stimulation for them, which is great. Right here, we've got this mound in the middle. I've got these giant rocks here. This is where we feed them hay every night and morning. They get a little bit of alfalfa, and we sweep this up at night. This helps reduce flies because if you're familiar with alfalfa, it's high in protein, and the flies love it. As soon as it gets wet, it'll start to decompose, and the flies really, really love it. So we've got one here. Paloma eats there. Blue eats over here on this rock. We've got another rock over there and a fourth one over in this corner. And I use those just to divide their food up. It's not all in one chunk. Divide it among 4 places. That way they have to walk from spot to spot to get their food. We've got another hay feeder here that they use. I mean, it's always full. They've always got access to hay. Over on this side of the barn is the stall that we talked about. Again, it's wide open, no gate here. They can come in and out. They go in, it's like a 3-sided shelter. It's pretty cool. And I do want to show you this really sweet, look at this really sweet stained glass window that my husband found. Clark, he found it at the Wimberley market day for $2. It was broken. He brought it home. We fixed it, installed it in the barn, and it's kind of like the perfect finishing touch for our barn. So we will come to my favorite place of the paddock, this right here, this little bench that we added on the side of the barn. It's really pretty perfect for hanging out, drinking coffee, sitting down while the horses are having their breakfast in the morning, sitting down with them, while they're having their dinner at night. It's just kind of a nice way to spend time with the horses. And it brings me to the visual I wanted to show you. So this right here is the book I was talking about, Paddock Paradise. These are my high-tech visuals. And one thing I wanted to show you, which I thought was pretty cool, is, so if this is to scale, let's imagine this is a football field, and I printed out a picture of our paddock. This is to scale for a football field. So let's look at this. Look at the amount of size, the size of our paddock compared to the size of a football field. And the reason I think this is so cool is because it just shows you don't have to have a lot of space to keep your horses really stimulated, keep them really healthy. It just takes a little bit of thought, a little bit of time. You can work with what you've got. If you have a rectangular paddock already, look at it, consider if you could add a fence around the outer perimeter, keep the horses in that outer perimeter fenced area, and then let the grass grow in the middle. Let them into those spaces just when you want to let them into those spaces. So that is my video, hoping to encourage people to look into the book Paddock Paradise, see if there's a way to implement it into your horse lifestyle and change up the bedding, not the bedding, the ground covering for your horses. Change that up if you can. Variety is magnificent for the health of your horse's hooves, and hopefully that gives you some tips of how to keep your horse happy, healthy, and mentally stimulated. Like Paloma here. Oh, she's a sweetie. Okay, see you later, guys.